This episode of Penn Point starts now. This episode of Penn Point is brought to you by Squarespace. Let them do your website. Okay, it's about time. I'm going to talk about Glenn Beck. I got to tell you, man, I did Letterman like 35 times. We did Letterman like 35 times. And then when Letterman has any sort of controversy, I don't get drug into it. I just did his fucking show. And I'd done Larry King a zillion times. And I've been on, Countdown on MSNBC. I talked to Keith Olbermann. But man, when you go on Glenn Beck, and when Glenn Beck had just hit TV, I guess he'd already done a lot of radio, I went on. Glenn Ally, who's our the kind of the manager, big honcho of Penn and Teller, runs everything, kind of our boss. Glenn Ally said there's this show called Glenn Beck. So I go on Glenn Beck, and I know he's a Mormon, and I'm an atheist. And I do the show a couple times, and we hit mostly the fact that we're both in favor of small government, and then I hit the atheist thing hard. And I do one joke that I kind of really sort of kind of like. When Glenn Beck says to me, kind of as a gag, "So you went to clown college, huh?" And I said to him, "Yeah, I went to clown college, and you are a Mormon. So we're both wearing funny underwear, but for different reasons." I like that joke. And Glenn Beck was polite to me and easy to be around, right? And I never said anything on Glenn Beck that I did not believe. But now I think it's been, because I went on when he did that like thing from the Alamo for the Tea Party, and I didn't understand what the Tea Party really was then, and I was all of a sudden in the middle of a rally, and still in the middle of this thing. And when was that? It was right after Obama was inaugurated, right? It was like February or March or something of, 08? So 2 years ago, right? More than 2 years ago. I believe that was the last time I was on Glenn Beck. And I don't know if he's asked me since, or I think he asked me once to be on with Hollywood conservatives. Like, I'm a fucking conservative. What the fuck? I'm libertarian, which means I am as liberal as you can fucking get on social issues and as conservative as you can fucking get on money issues, okay? But I'm not a Hollywood conservative. I am not Mel Gibson. People just can't understand that you can be in favor of small government and also I am in favor. I'm not just in favor of gay marriage. I'm in favor of there being no marriage done by the government. Anyone fucks anybody in any contract they want for any reason. Nothing is illegal. Oh, but what's going to happen if they start having threesomes and people want marriages with goats? You know what Penn Jillette says? Fine. Fuck anybody you want, providing that person also wants to fuck you. As long as it's consensual, do whatever you want. Okay, so I'm not one of these. I'm also a fucking atheist. So when I was on the Tea Party, no one really knew what the Tea Party was. In the early days, I'm reading this Dick Armey book now about the Tea Party to try to figure this out. But in the early days, it was mostly about the bailouts. I thought it was about the Bush bailouts that then went over to Obama. I mean, to me, the Tea Party started. The people that were talking to me about it before Obama was elected were all about these huge money bailouts, kind of like let them fail. But now it's gone into this nutty whole other thing. So I haven't been on Glenn Beck for 2 years, I don't think. Maybe, but I think that's right. And, I avoided being on as a Hollywood conservative. Glenn Beck has mentioned me since then, saying that I'm an atheist that he respects. And, I did the whole thing about Tommy Smothers ripping me a new asshole about going on Glenn Beck. And I've said Tommy Smothers is 100% right. When you go on a show with someone you disagree, you do give some validity to their show. No doubt about that. Then there's the other side about preaching to the converted. I go on Glenn Beck and say there's no God. Am I supposed to only say there's no God to people like you who probably already know that? Am I only supposed to say there's no God to people who know there's no God? I mean, I sit around with Dawkins and Hitchens. I write emails to Sam Harris and we say back and forth there's no God. But can I also say it to Glenn Beck? So Tommy Smothers trash me on the show is entirely right. But I also think you can say stuff. So I've been on Glenn Beck a few times. So I'm going to first let's do the sponsorship thing. Then I'm going to get back to talking about the thing he did on the Martin Luther King and this was brought to you by Squarespace. And I want to tell you about this Squarespace. You know, we have Penn and Teller website, and the Penn and Teller website costs like $1 zillion fucking dollars a month to have maintained, because we started it forever ago, and we still have the same people, and all of us are too embarrassed to tell them that they charge too much and that we could do it ourselves easily. We could do it ourselves with Squarespace. It's a publishing system for anyone looking to build a blog, portfolio, or any kind of website. You could do Penn Point with Squarespace. To put it in layman's terms, Squarespace is a tool that would allow you, your mom, I mean anyone really, your grandmother, to build a website that has the same functions found on some of the coolest whiz-bang pages on the web. If you already have a site and want to make it easier to use, no problem. Their newly launched Site Importer tool makes it extremely easy to move sites from other environments into Squarespace. They even have a ton of new social widgets, so no one will forget about your Twitter, okay? So this Squarespace thing is cool. As a Penn Point viewer, you can use the code PENN to get 10% off the life of your order. Go to squarespace.com to get started and tell them Penn sent you. So, on the anniversary of I've Got a Dream speech, Glenn Beck does his big rally. And I don't even watch it because I don't care. I don't care at all. You know, Glenn Beck has been nice to me the 45 minutes total I spent with him, okay? He said nice stuff about me on the air. Well, so has Rush Limbaugh said nice stuff about me. You know, Keith Olbermann said nice stuff about me. People have said terrible stuff about me. Okay, so I haven't gone on Glenn Beck. He hasn't asked me much. And the one time he asked me was about conservatives in Hollywood. And I'm certainly not going to do that because, first of all, I'm not a conservative. And second of all, I don't live in Hollywood. I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. So all these people are going, well, your friend Glenn Beck, I mean, aren't you really offended? And then somebody wrote to me in a private email that Glenn Beck was pushing the kind of social, social environment that helped get Martin Luther King killed. James Earl Ray killed Martin Luther King. I was alive when Martin Luther King was killed. I was a child. I didn't see any celebration. There aren't many people who believe there was a conspiracy on that. It was one really bad guy. There was not a culture that said Martin Luther King should be killed. There was a lot of turmoil in this country, and then there was a very, very mentally deranged, very bad person. The people who argued with Martin Luther King were not responsible for his death because they argued with him. Any more than the people who talk about hating Glenn Beck and hating him and thinking, he's horrible and he's terrible and he's awful. If Glenn Beck were to be injured, it would not be their fault for saying that. The idea of saying there is violence in Glenn Beck's rhetoric is exactly like saying there's violence in video games. We cannot decide how someone does something really evil. We cannot figure every single influence on Charlie Manson. We don't know. I mean, of course it was part of his upbringing. Of course it was genetics. Of course it was the jail system that kept him in from the time he was a child. And you know something else? It was also the Beatles. He listened to piggies. He was a crazy person. What they need is a damn good whacking. Helter Skelter. Charlie Manson believed all that. But we are unable. We are not sophisticated enough psychologically to be able to say this is what caused Charlie Manson to kill. Charlie Manson's family to kill. We're not sophisticated enough. So we say the blame is with the person who does it, or the people that do it. Now, Charlie Manson was a very bad example to pick because Charlie Manson was telling people to do this. But there is a difference between commanding crazy people to go out and kill and this this rhetoric type thing. So I do not agree with Glenn Beck on much of anything, except for that, Penn Jillette being an okay atheist. I mean, I'm an atheist. I don't agree with him on stuff. And I also don't think this is a Christian nation. And I don't want to go back to roots. I don't want to go back to the original ideas. And the original ideas, as he says them, are not the way I see the original ideas. And if I did agree on that, I wouldn't want to go back to them. I went on a fucking TV show. And I was cordial to Glenn Beck, just like I'm cordial to these fucking liberal assholes who say that there's a climate being created that will help people die. We disagree politically. But you know something? Glenn Beck choosing or not knowing he was doing it on the I've Got a Dream speech day was just fucking stupid. Just a fucking idiotic move and just disrespectful and unpleasant and all of that stuff. But that's all it is. It is disrespectful, it is unpleasant, it is stupid, it is not evil, it is not wrong, and it is not violent. So I'm not defending Glenn Beck. Yes, before I knew anything about him, I went on the show a few times. He's been nice to me. I've always been nice to him. But I never fucking told a lie on that show. Never. And I never fucking backed up any of the shit I don't agree with, okay? There is no God. Bingo. Done. We're out. And I wasn't on the mall, and I'm not behind that. And besides, on the Martin Luther King speech, Bob Dylan was there. Was Bob Dylan there with Glenn Beck? No. I rest my case.